Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back once again to another Fallout 4 settlement build. Today we're going to be checking out the Caboose Casino, located down in Vault 88, and this is going to be the first build in our new Raider shantytown. So at this point in time, the place may not look like too much, but I guarantee by the end, this whole area should be looking pretty cool. But that being said, hopefully you guys enjoy the build, and without further ado, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Alright guys, so for starters, we'll go ahead and check out the outside of the build, which, like I mentioned, may not look like anything too special as of now, but what I plan on doing, especially in the long run, is actually raising these buildings up almost to the top of the cave there. So that way not only is the town gonna have a lot of verticality, but we can also do some cool things like adding in catwalks that go from building to building. Also, for this build, I decided it would be owned by the operators, considering they like caps so much, and, well, seeing as how this is a casino, I figured that would be rather fitting. But one more thing I tried doing to make it seem a little bit more their style was give it sort of a Western feeling, just because, in my game at least, I did end up giving them Dry Rock Gulch. So that's why it almost has sort of a Good Springs vibe. But anyways guys, I'd say that's pretty much everything for the outside of the build. Obviously, there are a few more things, such as the more boring details like storage and just random objects that are a bit more junky, which I think helps the build achieve more of a Raider look. And then last but not least, I really do enjoy how this build is sort of integrated with a lot of the objects around it, mainly the big parts of the train, which, as you may have guessed already, is the main reason why this place is called the Caboose Casino. But yeah, now that that's all out of the way, we'll go ahead and check out the inside of the build. And as we go around here, I will try and explain the money system and how that works inside this particular casino. I think in a way it's got a very similar system to the casinos in New Vegas, but I think you guys will have to decide that for yourselves. As for the entrance though, it's got a very simple feel, and just like the outside has, this has got a bit of a Western feel too, especially due to the cardboard cutout and the Brahmin couch. Apart from that, there's also quite a few more other items in what I would call the lobby of the build, and since I thought this area back here was rather dark, at least in my opinion, I did try to add some other light sources just in hopes that that would help illuminate it. So I stuck in a jukebox, the lantern, and also the radio in the back. So really quick, let me try to explain the payment system here in this casino. The caps, they do still have some value, although in this case they are the least valuable. I'd say next up would be the pre-war money, and you can use that here because how that works is you stick it in these token dispensers, and out comes the tokens, which for Fallout 4 are going to be the closest thing you can get to an actual poker chip. So in theory, you can use all three payment methods, but some are going to be more valuable than others. And we also have the VIP section, in which the pre-war money is just banned altogether. But yeah, I think that just about sums up how that works. If you want to acquire some of those things, right here at the front desk is where you would get extra caps or even the pre-war money. And then if you want to get tokens, there are two dispensers. The main one being here, and then there's also one in the back, which in this case is indeed broken because whoever put it there made the mistake of placing it right next to the Russian roulette. So you could imagine that maybe a stray bullet hit it at one point, and that's why it's now out of order. And in terms of all the available games here you can play, I tried to include each and every one that was offered in New Vegas, except for standard poker, although I guess now that I think about it, maybe that's what they would play inside the VIP section. But as you'll see, we have blackjack in the far right corner of the build, and this table is pretty much loaded up to the brim with your cards, your payment methods, and then I tried to make it seem as though the box of bobby pins was a card box in this case. And then just to take it to the next level, there's also beer, chems, and even a lit cigarette, which may be a bit much, but I think all that put together just really helps this not only achieve a sort of casino look, but also make it seem like it really does belong to a crazy group of raiders. Aside from blackjack, there's also roulette, which was also offered in New Vegas, although not the kind we have here. I mean, these are raiders after all, so it's gotta be Russian roulette. And that would indeed explain all the blood on the wall. But also in terms of this table, I tried to load it up too with all kinds of detail. And I was thinking, since this is a really risky game, the only participants you'd ever really get are some of the more really desperate low-life raiders. So that's why in this case, all they have to pay with are the caps, which, like I brought up earlier, are the least valuable payment method for this casino. Next up, we have our mini slot machines, I think 5 in this case, which may not seem like too much, but I think for a casino this size, it definitely is an awful lot. There's also plenty of decoration covering all the walls, whether that be just standard posters or even a creature mounted. And what I tried to do is make sure if there was one of those up on the wall, it represented the style of the card game that was being played. And that's why we have the Death Claw for Russian roulette, and then the more Western style Brahmin head for the game of Caravan. Speaking of Caravan, that's just over here in the corner. So you can see that table's pretty decorated up as well. And then I guess last but not least for this build is our VIP section, which is a little more fancy than the rest of the place. And here, like I said, all they play with are tokens and bottle caps. And they too have their fair share of chems laying out. In fact, maybe more than they should. I think if they ended up doing all these chems at once, their chances of dying would be just as high as someone playing roulette. But one last thing before we wrap things up, you might have noticed that a lot of the rooms outside the VIP section had just low-class, cheap alcohol, which was in the form of just regular beer. And I guess this room even has one. But what I tried to do to make it seem a little bit more high class, even for raiders, was I included some whiskey as well with all the shot glasses. And I think that did a decent job at achieving the look I was going for. But anyways guys, that just about wraps up everything for this build. So be sure and let me know what you thought down in the comments. Hopefully you did enjoy it. I'd also like to know whether you want to see me continue this raider town or go back and finish up the boxcar town. Personally, I'm fine with doing either one. I know we haven't done a full town walkthrough ever, so maybe for the sake of it we should just go up and finish up the boxcar town just to get that out of the way. But once again, either way is fine with me. So yeah, thanks again for watching guys. Like I said, hopefully you did enjoy the build. And as always, I will see you in the next one.